What it was, cuz, it's your boy CKW. Welcome to No Offense Intended. I'm here at Wyatt, Doujetrek.
Hello, Clinton.
It's playoffs, baby. NFL. Wyatt, what do you think about the games that happened this weekend in the wild cards?
I mean, some of the NFL wildcard games, some were good, others were just terrible. I can tell you there were a lot of good games, but the terrible one was most certainly the Houston and Kansas City game. That was just ugly from the start. Niall Davis starting the game with a kickoff return for a touchdown. Brian Hoyer just turning the ball over time after time in his first playoff game. But you know what? The Houston Texans have a lot to look up to. I don't think anybody thought they'd win the AFC South this year. Everyone thought Andrew Luck would take them. So it's a good season by the Houston Texans, just a disappointing finish in the playoffs.
The most horrific thing for me to watch was Brian Hoyer. Like, his quarterback, his passes rating was awful. He threw 4 interceptions that game. He threw 7 in the entire season. How do you even explain that? You were a pretty good quarterback when it comes to your passes rating for the season. You only threw 7 interceptions in 16 games. And then when it comes to one game, the quarterback, the person who has the most responsibility, you throw 4 interceptions. When the game was over and then you found out you threw 4 interceptions, what were your thoughts?
I felt bad for the guy, truly. He was a backup to Tom Brady. Tom Brady's been in the playoffs almost every year. He gets his chance to shine in the playoffs. He just messes it up. I think that it was just horrible to watch Brian Hoyer play this week. It was just horrible.
The first thing you watched it, the first thing they did, Kansas got the kick return, returned it all the way. What was it, 98 yards? The defense. What was even said? The defense or the offense in that game?
I think it's got to. You could make a case for both. I mean, Houston has a really good defense. They got Vince Wilfork at defensive tackle and J.J. Watt. They got all the pieces on defense. Offensively, though, it was just a mess. I'd have to go with the offense. A guy cannot throw 4 interceptions in the playoffs, unless the exception last year in the NFC Championship game where Russell Wilson threw like 4 interceptions in a win against Green Bay. You just can't win with 4 interceptions by your quarterback in the playoffs. You just can't.
And obviously, you were saying the Houston Texans have won. We talked last week. You said the Houston Texans have this one over the Chiefs because they have a guy, J.J. Watt, on their team. Let me ask you this. What was your J.J. Watt this week?
I think he would have probably played better with that hand cast on. But he's still J.J. Watt, and he's a force to be reckoned with next year, no matter if he's in a cast or not.
Absolutely. And let's talk about Pittsburgh Cincinnati.
That game was ugly from the start. You saw the officials. John Perry and his crew were on the field right before the game. They know the rivalry between these two teams. They knew it was going to be ugly. I thought at the end of the game, it was just horrible. What Vontaze Burfict did to Antonio Brown was horrible. You don't knock out the best receiver in football, in my opinion. You don't. It's horrible. And I do not accept that Joey Porter, the assistant coach of the Steelers, was on the field. You don't go on the field. I don't care if you're the guy's coach. You don't go on the field. Period. I mean, Pac-Man Jones cannot commit that penalty, which would put a 35-yard field goal instead of a 50-yard field goal. Come on. Logic sense, Pac-Man Jones. Come on. Simple.
A lot of action in that game. And let's recap with... So let's go into the first round of the season. Now we see more teams coming into the playoffs. Let's talk about, there are many games this first round. There's Kansas City and New England. There's Seattle and Carolina. There's Pittsburgh and Denver. The Pats at the Chiefs. What game comes out to you the most?
It's got to be the Kansas City New England game. I know I'm a Patriots fan and all, but you know what? 11-game win streak, you go into one of the toughest buildings to play in the NFL in Gillette Stadium in Foxborough. It doesn't get tougher than that unless you're playing at Seattle and they're 16-0. They're going to have a really tough time in there. And I'm telling you, I've been there. It's tough playing there.
So you honestly have, you don't think that one of the best 2 quarterbacks in this season brought up against each other head-to-head, 11-6 against 15-1, the Seattle Seahawks and the Carolina Panthers. You feel like that is not going to be a good matchup as much as the Pats?
I think it is a good matchup. I just think Kansas City is an 11-game win streak. I think I would have changed my mind if Carolina would have gone undefeated, because at the beginning of the year, Seattle was the toughest team they played in CenturyLink Field in Seattle. They won on a Greg Olsen touchdown catch, which was outstanding. Congratulations on that win. But I think an 11-game win streak, playing the reigning champions of the NFL in Gillette Stadium. It doesn't get much tougher than that.
All right, you know that Russell Wilson has thrown 25 passes in his last 8 games. He's done a pretty good job. Marshawn Lynch coming up injured recently. The Seahawks kind of started off with a rough start, then they kind of plateaued and they even escalated later on. So they finished their season 11-5. I'm sorry, 11-6. Do you feel like Russell Wilson should have more recognition than he does because he's overshadowed by Cam Newton this season because they have that 15-1 record?
I think he deserves a lot more credit than he gets. There was a stretch where he threw 19 touchdown passes. A whole stretch. 19 touchdown passes. Got injured. You saw his knee in an air cast. That's kind of when I thought they'd start bringing it together. They said, oh, we got this guy in the offseason. He's out. Let's play for him. Let's win for him.
Okay, but once again, we see the Seattle Seahawks are in this bond. Marshawn Lynch is out. So we have
Thomas Rawls.
We have Wilson passing it to Ryan Lockett.
Tyler Lockett.
Tyler Lockett. So, do you feel like they have any chance of beating the Pats?
Absolutely. Anytime you have Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas on their defense, that's just to name a few. Cliff April's still there. They have a really good shot at beating the Carolina Panthers this weekend. At the end, it's coming down to the offenses. Cam or Russell, who is going to have the better game, in my opinion, is going to win this football game.
So let's talk about Pittsburgh-Denver right now.
I think going into this game, I thought people would go Pittsburgh, but we saw what happened in the wild card game. Ben Roethlisberger was carted off, and it was classless that the Cincinnati fans were throwing cans at them. Classless. But you know what? Antonio Brown's also got injured. I think they need to run the ball, period. Roethlisberger's shoulder is not in good shape.
So ultimately, no offense this weekend.
You never know. We've seen Tony Romo come against the 49ers a couple years ago when he had broken ribs. He won the game for them.
So Ben Roethlisberger is not going to be a liability this weekend.
I don't think so. You got to run the football.
All right, so we see Carson Palmer this weekend. We're going up against Aaron Rodgers. What do you think about that quarterback matchup?
It's a great matchup. I mean, Carson Palmer, he's had an unbelievable season this year. He's thrown a lot of touchdowns. He hasn't thrown many interceptions. Aaron Rodgers, last week I think was his best game in a long time. He started going way up. Their team then fell into Denver and their team went down, including a whipping at University of Phoenix Stadium in Week 16. I think it's a great quarterback matchup. The teams have changed since that time. It may be a short amount of time, but those teams have changed. The Green Bay Packers offensive line, they got to be the key. This Arizona defense wants to attack the offensive line. You saw J.C. Tretter got injured last week against the Washington Redskins. Their offensive line is what's going to win their game for them.
Okay, now we know that the NBA season is coming to a half point. All-Star break, All-Star weekend, something we all grew to love. Who are the players and teams that pop out into your head and this team has a good chance of winning the championship, this team has a good chance of, this player has a good chance of making an MVP run?
I think you can't stop without mentioning the Golden State Warriors. You just can't. They're unbelievable. They have Luke Walton as their head coach, not Steve Kerr. Luke Walton has no coaching experience. He played for the LA Lakers. That's pretty much it, and he's the son of Bill Walton. For some reason, you can't mention them. You have to mention them in a title race. They're just that good. Steph Curry, Draymond Green, they've been great. They have been fantastic. Klay Thompson as well. I think they have to be the clear choice right now for an NBA title. I don't think anybody besides the Bucks could really stop them.
I mean, honestly, in my head, as much as I hate to say it, there are only 3 teams that come to my head when it comes to the championship in one player. And maybe I can make an exception with the second player, James Harden.
Yeah.
With an MVP. But 3 teams. That is the San Antonio Spurs, the Golden State Warriors, and obviously these are everybody's 3 teams. Wyatt, I'm sure you know that third team.
It's the Golden State Warriors.
The Golden State Warriors, the San Antonio Spurs. What's the third team that?
Cleveland, obviously. They got LeBron.
They have LeBron James. What can LeBron James not do? What can Stephen Curry not do? what can Tim Duncan not do when it comes to being a team leader? Because obviously him being a big man and him being 38, 39 years old, he actually can't do a lot of things now. Kawhi Leonard is the glue of the San Antonio Spurs. They haven't lost a single game at home all season. Stephen Curry, they went as far as 24-0, not losing the game all season. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they've lost 9 games right now, but without Kyrie Irving, since Kyrie Irving come back, they haven't lost one. They haven't lost one. And the thing about these 3 teams is that they are so elite that to think that any other team can actually be in this picture is horrifying. I don't think it's possible for any teams to be in this picture. The one team that can, people are going to think I'm being biased, but the one team that I can actually see possibly doing anything to the Cleveland Cavaliers is the Chicago Bulls. I mean, if Derrick Rose ever can be that healthy player that he once was, we see how lethal and unstoppable this man is when he's confident and he's attacking the basket. He had his orbital fracture at the beginning of the season. He was wearing that mask for about 2 months. As soon as he took off that mask, what was he averaging? 18 points per game. Not going to the line because he wasn't getting his free throws for some reason. Derrick Rose is lethal. Jimmy Butler, we've seen him surge up in the past 3 seasons to be the MVP, sort of MVP caliber player he is now. They have Pau Gasol, arguably the best power forward in the league right as of now. They have Joakim Noah coming off the bench. Joakim Noah hasn't been playing as good as we know. The Joakim Noah we know from that 2013-2014 season when he was 4th in the MVP standings. They have Nikola Mirotic, sharpshooter. They have Doug McDermott. They have a team. Not arguably, it's between the Golden State Warriors and the Chicago Bulls who have the best bench in the NBA. I don't know what it is with the Chicago Bulls that they just can't decide, okay, we're going to be an elite team. We're going to join those 3. Do you think the Chicago Bulls not being one of the elite teams has anything to do with the firing of Tom Thibodeau?
I mean, here in Chicago, we've won 6 championships here. The goal every year is to win a championship, to win the Larry O'Brien Trophy. And I think because Thibodeau, he's had multiple number ones. He's had a number 1 seed in his first year. That was great.
2 number 1 seeds.
Yes.
His first and his second
yes.
year. And his first and his second year. And his second year is when Derrick Rose won the MVP.
Yes.
Derrick Rose that we all knew.
I think because that Tom Thibodeau did not win a championship with those teams is most likely the reason he got fired. Because you know what? Here in Chicago, we expect a Jordan. We expect a championship.
I mean, I don't want to say this is the reason, but honestly, I feel like the reason that Tom Thibodeau was fired is because they were once that defensive team with they had Carlos Boozer, healthy Joakim Noah. He has injury problems nowadays. They had Luol Deng. Jimmy Butler's primary spot was to play defense. He's not that player anymore. They were a defensive squad, and then over the years we lost Luol Deng. Joakim Noah isn't the defensive player he once was. Carlos Boozer's gone. We literally traded defense in for offense, bringing Pau Gasol, who is incapable of a lick of defense. All he can do is contest a shot 50% of the time. So now we're this offensive team, and Tom Thibodeau is a defensive maestro teacher. So that's pretty much like hiring a Spanish teacher to teach French. It's 2 different things. So I feel like the Chicago Bulls front office saw it as, why are we having a defensive guy try to transform a defensive team into being an offensive team? It really makes no sense. And the Bulls are in that struggle right now. So in my opinion, they have like a 0 to none % chance of winning the championship.
But that's the love of sports. I mean, we've seen teams from the number 8 seed in the Stanley Cup Finals a couple years ago in the LA Kings. They won the cup. That's the love of sports. Anything can happen any given day. That's the love of it. You just love hearing the stories where the underdog team goes and beats the number 1 seed on their way to a championship.
But it's kind of obvious that Cleveland has no competition in going into the finals. Golden State has competition with the San Antonio Spurs.
It's going to be a great series if they get there.
Possibly the Oklahoma City Thunder. Possibly. I think the Bulls have a better chance of getting anywhere than the Oklahoma City Thunder. maybe even possibly the Los Angeles Clippers if you want to go that far out. And if you want to go that far out in the East, possibly possibly the Miami Heat. But with the Golden State Warriors and the San Antonio Spurs, what team has a better chance of advancing? Don't just look at the record, look at experience and everything. Because last season, the San Antonio Spurs kind of got screwed over. The Western Conference standings were so tight that literally losing to the New Orleans Pelicans dropped them from the 2nd to the 7th seed, and they had to play a tough team like the Los Angeles Clippers in the first round, went to Game 7. Last couple minutes, they lost the game.
That was an intense series in the Clippers Spurs series. But you know what? I'm gonna pick the underdog in this case. It's not a much big underdog. I'm going with the Spurs because they have experience. Tim Duncan, he's got 5 titles. There's only one other player that has 5 other titles. You know what his name is? It's Kobe Bryant. He's also a Hall of Famer. Tim Duncan is a first ballot Hall of Famer. He's got Greg Popovich on his side. They've won 5 championships together. I gotta give it to the Spurs. They have talent too.
Honestly, in my opinion, I think that the Golden State Warriors will have the best season they've ever had. They will.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people in Chicago are going to hate me for saying this. They will surpass 72-10. But I think that Cleveland Cavaliers aren't even going to get anywhere close to 72-10 and beat the Golden State Warriors in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
We're looking real far out now. It's January and we're looking in June. I mean, It's hard to say anything at this point. But from what I see, I think that the Cleveland Cavaliers have more potential. They have a chip on their shoulder. Okay, we didn't have Kevin Love. We didn't have Kyrie Irving. 2 out of 3 of our best players were injured. That's like taking away Klay Thompson and Draymond Green from Stephen Curry.
Absolutely.
And that's even more of a liability because they mean more to them. The Draymond Green and Klay Thompson, in my opinion, means more to Warriors than Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving do. Because LeBron James he's 10 players in one. He's 10
huge.
players.
I think if you took those 2, Green and Thompson, away from Curry, he's not putting 46 points a night like LeBron sometimes can. LeBron is the golden player in this league. I'll say it now. He's still the golden guy in this league. No matter how good Steph Curry's been doing lately. It's LeBron. If it was LeBron versus Curry in 1-on-1, I'd go LeBron still.
So who's your champion, though? I mean, it's really far out, but I just want to know your champion halfway through the season.
I'm going upset. I like San Antonio.
You like San Antonio?
I want to see Tim Duncan. Ty Jordan, that'd be fantastic.
It will be fantastic.
He's a great guy, Tim Duncan.
So who's your MVP? No, forget about that question right now. Actually, who in San Antonio is going to lead the team? Is it going to be Tim Duncan coming back? LaMarcus Aldridge?
I got to go LaMarcus Aldridge.
Not Kawhi Leonard?
I think LaMarcus Aldridge and Kawhi Leonard are both pretty equal, but I got to give the edge to LaMarcus Aldridge. He was your free agent's acquisition. You paid him to play big in big-time games. If he shows it, and I know he can put...
He showed it this year.
I think he is my X factor for the Spurs to get past the Warriors or whoever they get past to get to the NBA championship.
And then me, among with like 85% of people, I know that LeBron James is going to be LeBron James. Second greatest playoff player in my opinion after Michael Jordan. Some can make an argument for Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. Thinking about, I really feel like LeBron James is going to be their carrier. He's going to put the Cavs on his back once again, take them all the way to the finals and win the finals. They're going to have a drastically worse record than the Golden State Warriors, but I feel like LeBron James will find a way to pull it over. They should have won last year, didn't have the team to win last year. It wasn't his year. First year back, it wasn't his year.
Just like in Miami, where they lost to the Dallas Mavericks. Dirk Nowitzki, they came up. Rick Carlisle, they got Dirk's first ring. That was an unbelievable series. It wasn't his year, though. Clinton's right. It wasn't his year.
Wyatt, let's go back, transition right back into football. We just took that break, talked about basketball. Now let's just finish up and recap with our predictions for this weekend. Kansas City and New England, give me a score.
Obviously, being the New England fan that I am, I'll take the Muskets over the Chiefs. That's the Patriots, 28-21, Foxborough.
I agree with you. So that's going to be a draw. Seattle, Carolina.
You know what? As much as I like Seattle and I like the Legion of Boom and Russell Wilson, you're playing at Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. That is as tough as a venue to play in this year as any.
I have to disagree with you. I'm gonna cut you off right there. I'm gonna have to disagree with you. I told you last week it's a quarterback matchup. You still disagree with me there. You think Cam Newton is the better quarterback? You explained it tonight over Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson is a better quarterback. The Panthers kind of had that week of rest. That's gonna throw them off. First of all, the Seahawks are warm. Even though they're not really warm because it was negative 6 degrees.
Minnesota.
And they only had one touchdown, 10-9 was the final score. I think it's going to be a Russell Wilson show. It's going to be the Russell Wilson show. It's going to be the Richard Sherman show. You told me earlier today it's going to be the Josh Norman show. But it's going to be the Russell Wilson show, the Richard Sherman show. Offense and defense is going to take over this. Is going to take over this game. Not necessarily saying that it's going to be a blowout, but that's just what I think. Pittsburgh, Denver. Recap that for me.
You know what? It's Roethlisberger versus Peyton Manning. I was surprised when the Broncos made the switch against the Chargers to switch Osweiler and Manning. I was surprised. But you know what? It worked. And Kubiak made a very great decision. Gary Kubiak, that goes to the Denver Broncos. But you know what? This is a revenge game. Sports Authority Field, Mile High. A couple years ago, Tim Tebow played Ben Roethlisberger. Tim Tebow won the game, then got shellacked in Foxborough the next week. But you know what? I need to have an upset this week. I'm going to go with Pittsburgh this week. Out of all the odds, I think Ben Roethlisberger is going to Tony Romo this game. He will go in with a very bad shoulder. He's going to win this game for them. I'm predicting Peyton Manning's going to have 3 interceptions. Being the Peyton Manning playoff player he is.
I mean, it's nearly... I'm going to have to disagree with you again. It is nearly impossible for the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this game over the Denver Broncos. First of all, Antonio Brown injured.
Concussion, yeah.
Second of all, Ben Roethlisberger injured.
Yep.
How are you going to take over this game if your quarterback and his preferable player he throws to are liabilities?
Don't forget, he's got Martavis Bryant. He's 6'5".
With an injured shoulder.
Yeah, that's true. Good point.
If that was the wide receiver that he normally throws to, the chemistry will be there whether his shoulder is injured or not, but it's not. Antonio Brown is his primetime guy, who is not there.
He'll be there. He's going to play. But the thing is...
Who is not there? I'm going to say it again.
He's not going to get any catches.
Who is not there?
Okay.
You have a concussion. This is the playoffs. It's not the regular season. Antonio Brown, best wide receiver in the league, but I just do not see him playing well this game. I really don't see the Pittsburgh Steelers going anywhere. That game is going to be a blowout. I got Denver 21-3. Maybe they'll get an extra or a few though.
I'm just going to say something in complete honesty. I'm going to disagree with that. We saw a couple years ago, Baltimore marched into Denver. I don't think anybody thought Baltimore would march out there with the win. We all thought it'd be same stadium, it'd be Tom Brady and Peyton Manning again. We were all shocked at that finish. Joe Flacco threw a Hail Mary, Raheem Moore blew the coverage. Baltimore ended up going to Foxborough, beating my Patriots, winning the Super Bowl in New Orleans. So the question is, why can't that happen again? Peyton Manning is not a very good playoff quarterback. He's not. He's an absolutely outstanding regular season quarterback. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer for sure. But when it comes down to the playoffs, has he been the most consistent player in the playoffs? No.
Why, we were talking about LeBron James just a second ago. And when I think about the LeBron James, even though he's older now, not LeBron James, Peyton Manning.
He's 39
but when
years
I think
old.
about the LeBron James of the NFL, it's Peyton Manning. He has MVPs on MVPs. One ring.
That's it.
But MVPs on MVPs. Arguably, you could make a case that he's not the playoff player that he should be, which I would agree with you.
He's under 500.
I'm not sure if everybody would agree with you. I feel like he's going to come out to this game. He knows that Ben Roethlisberger
He's injured.
is incapable of being Ben Roethlisberger. And Peyton Manning is all there, 100%, ready to go. So I just feel like it's going to be a mental part on both players' ends. Ben Roethlisberger, because he's never been in this position. Peyton Manning, because he's been in this position.
Ben Roethlisberger's he's won 2 Super Bowls as well. Don't forget about that.
With an injured shoulder?
No.
That's so he's never been in this position. Peyton Manning, who has been in this position, going up against injured quarterbacks, I'm not sure with the statistics, but I'm sure he being the quarterback that he is, a veteran quarterback, knows how to take control of situations like this and capitalize. I really feel like that game is going to be a blowout. Let's focus on Green Bay and Arizona. It's Aaron Rodgers, Carson Palmer. Talk about it.
This is a rematch for Aaron Rodgers. This is a chance to get his life back. This is a chance to erase the beating that they suffered a couple weeks ago. They just got shellacked. They got whipped. All the ugly words for blowout you could put in that game. He got sacked about 8 times. 8 times. But his offensive line wasn't unhealthy that week. I don't think that's going to change. I got Arizona in this game. You're playing in the desert. You have a small chance of winning.
This is not the Aaron Rodgers we're used to seeing. But I'm going to have to disagree with you, though. I really feel like Aaron Rodgers is going to come back. I feel like there's just something that great quarterbacks, great athletes in general, do better than, I don't want to say mediocre, but it's a game-to-game quarterback. Carson Palmer's had a really good season, but before this season, was he a good quarterback?
He was a good quarterback until he tore his ACL last year. And
before this season, was he a good quarterback, though?
I don't think anybody thought he'd put up the season he was.
Nobody thought so.
No.
So what makes you think that he's just going to come out of nowhere? That's the regular season. We've talked about how it's 2 different things. What makes you think that he's just going to come out of nowhere and then be that Carson Palmer he was all season long? Same thing with Cam Newton over there in the Seattle Panthers side. What makes you think that those guys who've been showing symptoms of they've been mediocre for their careers, and then now they're all these great quarterbacks all of a sudden? What makes you think that they could be great quarterbacks in the playoffs when it's a completely different game?
They got the targets, and they got the defense behind them. Arizona's got a great defense. Patrick Peterson, Calais Campbell, that's all I can really mention.
I think Green Bay's going to win that game. Not sure if it's going to be a blowout. Don't think it's going to be a blowout. But I got Green Bay beating Arizona. Thank you so much for watching No Offense Intended once again. It's Clayton K. Williams and Wyatt.